Warning, the following video has flashing lights and also includes content that may be deemed inappropriate for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Dirty Birdie, you have once again awoken me from my slumber as you have stumbled into the fox den for an episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on Star Fox Radio. Yeah, I need to attend to something. Absolutely delicious. I could sit here and feed all night, except Kelly and myself do need to once again take a walk into the darkness.
Stood up. I said, oh my god, it's a werewolf. And everybody in the car freaked out.
My creatures of the night, yes, welcome back once again to another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on Star Fox Radio. This is the home and the stomping ground of the Midnight Society. And once again, we open up our infamous book to read a chapter in regards of what is occurring across the United States. And tonight we are actually diving into an area called Dudleytown. And our host has been here before, so you should know who he is, and he will be back again. And all his links will be up in the description so that you can check out what he's up to. This is Kelly Dirty Birdie, man. How you doing tonight, bro?
I'm doing all right, hanging in there, diving into this. I thought I heard this before, but uh, I don't think I have, and it's a really strange case here.
Yeah, some pretty gnarly stuff, man, for sure, dude. And actually, before we pop up into that, would you like to give yourself a plug and just tell the audience what you've been up to, what you do inside or outside of cryptids?
All right. Um, my name is Kelly, aka Dirty Birdie. I'm part of Pocatello Paranormal Society or Research, and I'm part of the Nightmare Road Show. And I dive into stuff. Somebody gives me something to look up, and I try to find all the angles of paranormal cryptids, sightings, stuff like that, to see a different perspective. Because somebody just says, like, I saw this, I saw that, and I try to dig into, all right, what time of year was it? Was it full moon? Um, Especially cryptids. I love cryptids. What time of year it was, the weather, stuff like that. Just to kind of give a scientific perspective of when this stuff happens. Love it. One of my things. So yeah.
It's great stuff right there, man, and I appreciate you, and that's why you're part of the Midnight Society for sure, because same thing, man. I mean, I've stated this before and I'll state it again. The North American Dogman Project, myself, we're the bad guys, the bad girls, because we ask for evidence, we ask for just scenarios that unfold. I mean, I'm a journalist, and like I was talking to Jessica Jones about last night, it's my job to collect data and such. It's not my job just to believe everything under the sun without any sort of credence to it. And that's why I, specialize in the aspect of geeking out and nerding out and collecting information, but also it's important to be able to filter that out and also send that to individuals that can figure out more. Meaning, I start with the scientific stuff first and try to plug in all the pieces there. And when things don't really make sense, then I will pass that on to others that can potentially start plugging in some more pieces. But I just think people get all upset and boo-hoo because at the end of the day, I am a logical person. I'm subjective, objective. I always go into everything with a healthy aspect of skepticism, meaning, I just go in not believing everything until things start adding up. And that's good science to me, is to make, a hypothesis and theories based off of evidence and findings, not just off of random opinions. So it's definitely good to always link up with you, man.
Yeah, it's always as a paranormal researcher and cryptid hunter, you always have to check and verify, double check, and then do it again because things change at the drop of a hat every single time.
Yes, and that is so true. And to the audience tonight, like previously stated, we're going to be diving into this area called Dudleytown. And before I throw the mic over to Kelly and let him dive into this with us, there is some really interesting information about this spot. So I encourage everyone again to always look up stuff and do your own research. But this is an area in a very dark forest, meaning it didn't allow much light in apparently. And also, there are a ton of interesting things that occurred here, man, meaning these people could have just literally gone insane from the isolation or insane from other reasons, which do happen. But also, it is pretty interesting when the majority of your town starts to see strange, shadowy, animal, humanoid-like creatures all walking around the shadows of the forest. So, I mean, sure, they could have been hallucinating, but it is interesting why the majority of your town ended up seeing these figures. And as far as I know, I don't really think that area is still inhabited to this day. I could be incorrect. There might still be some small dwellings in there, but I think it's almost completely abandoned, is it?
It's gone. Like the whole town is gone. There's just like rocky formations of where houses used to be. It's been obliterated apparently. And for our adventurous listeners that want to go see it, you can't. As soon as you step foot on the property, uh, you'll be arrested. It's that um, protected. Yeah, they don't allow anybody on the property anymore, from what I've read.
Wow, pretty bizarre right there. And also, there are, again, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that is right in some heart of cursed Native American land as well, man. So that kind of falls into what we've been trying to figure out too with, areas like the LBL, which would consist of Tennessee and Kentucky. In these places, you have the lands that have been shunned by the indigenous cultures, and also even in more modern day times where, more modern settlers were pushed out of their areas to live. And I mean, you have the Eastern Kentucky witches and also the Eastern Tennessee witches that were forced up to the mountains again, and they cursed the land as well. So there's a lot of negative energy going through there too. And that's something that I was really diving into, meaning I was talking to Dennis Carroll, who is our occult specialist, and he was saying that it's not always been this way, okay? So, for example, 666, right? That is not the mark of the beast in anything else outside of modern day religion, okay? If you look back in historical aspects, it has nothing to do with negativity. Again, same thing with, say, an upside down cross. Well, William White, a member of our science team, also specializes as a historian informed us that there was a gentleman in the past that didn't want to basically be crucified the way I guess Jesus was. So he had the cross put upside down. Again, I'm spiritual, I'm not religious, so I am introduced to these things from people that specialize in this, but that shows you, like, right there, that again, that's not a sign of the devil and things like that. So I'm starting to think potentially in certain areas, even like Highway 666, okay, it's now been changed to Highway 491. Well, I don't think that 666 did anything. Okay. I don't think that brings in the beast or whatever along the lines of that. But I do think potentially you had some bozos that thought that highway had a cool name and then probably went there and started doing, occult stuff, which could then tie into a lot of the strange stuff that's occurring. And also, that highway is built right through cursed indigenous lands as well. So, ironically, it was named Highway 666, but there was already all that bad juju going on way before then. And it's kind of like with the occult with the Nazis and Heinrich Himmler and all the such. They had 13,000 occult books. So there's a really high probability that they had more, and also that they are probably at least 80% responsible for whatever was released with negative energy. I mean, that's all these people did at Huska Castle and all these other areas, is just try to deal with the occult and summon things and all kinds of interesting stuff. So I think in these areas, just when you have so much negative manifestation that is occurring in things, well, it's just topples all onto itself. So it's no different than when you say go to an area where someone says, "Oh, this feels very spiritual. I feel connected. I feel like healing powers, good vibes, or all this stuff," right? Well, same thing. If you go to an area where people were hung and witch trials and all this, you're probably going to feel some sort of bad juju. So, do you think that is tying into Dudleytown whatsoever, or what's your thoughts on all this?
Well, from what I've been reading is that it was a Indian burial ground, and then uh, the man named Thomas Griffiths moved in, and he basically bought the land. And man, he couldn't have picked a worse spot. The ground was so rocky that they couldn't really grow crops, right? And he bought this place. He bought this parcel of land, which is in between three hills. So by the time that noon was around, noontime, it was already dark in this town. So you couldn't grow crops at all, which is dumb for settlers, especially in the 1700s. Now, but the forestry side was booming. It was huge, and then everything changed an iron was found. So a bunch of settlers moved in there, but the whole town was like what, 25 people, the whole thing. But this place was so isolated that to get anything in or out, they had to go to another local town, which was, I don't know, miles away. So, and every time I think about this, living in 1700s stuff like that, ugh, man, it had to be rough, really rough. So,
Right? Straight up, man. Definitely had to be. And like you were just saying, there's that indigenous land that's been cursed. So again, doesn't surprise me that, you have the occult here, you have these strange looking human hominoid creatures, because in Hauska Castle, according to the occult members of the SS, when you would summon these entities from that huge hole, they would reek of sulfur. And when they would come up, they were always these animal-headed beasts that were humanish as well, whether it was goat man or these werewolves and such. So again, interesting because it's on cursed land and they're seeing these entities that are supposedly in the shadows and such. So it really does make me think again, were these negative entities purposely released in these areas to basically be like, all right, well, you want to take our land from us? Well, screw you. We're going to leave you a nice little present after and just put as much negative energy as possible into those areas.
Yeah, and I was digging into this, and apparently the Dudley family in way back when had a member of his family tried to overthrow King Henry VIII, and he was beheaded, and then a curse was put on his family, and then they moved over here, which, you know, curses are weird. Curses are strange. Like, I don't know. You know, you can put a curse on anything. You can put with the right, with the, well, right, wrong intent. You can put a curse on anything. You can curse a penny and then give it to somebody, and then they have bad luck for the rest of their life. But I digress. Anyway, they move here, and it's just misfortune and accidents and people going insane all the time. I don't know. I want to say more I'm reading into it. I want to say it's the land, more specifically the water, because people have to drink water. So I'm thinking something is leaching into the water and progressing, you know, insane thoughts because that does happen. I mean, look at the witch trials of Salem. That was attributed to a fungus that was on wheat when the weather dropped and then rose again, and it got this fungus. I can't remember the name of it, but a derivative of that fungus is what we now call LSD. So who's to say that something didn't leach into the water or the crops? They had any, they consumed it, and then all of a sudden, but after a while, they their body started shutting down, especially their mind, and started seeing things in the woods.
That is great stuff, man. And again, that's why I love your brother, because that's what I mean about thinking scientifically, okay? Because, yes, if something was leaking into the water, which could be natural minerals or anything, okay? If it's not running fast enough, there can be bacteria that builds up in there, all kinds of things. And I mean, if people aren't fully entwined to understand, hey, you probably shouldn't be drinking this. I mean, if you don't got your own Les Strauss Survivor Man with you, well, the odds are you could make some errors with that, okay? And yeah, 100%, man. I mean, that could solidify all the insanity aspects too. So that's what I mean about trying to make sure to look inside, outside, around the box, and not just automatically jump to conclusions, something paranormal based, which it could be. Okay. I mean, that's what we're trying to, figure out here. And do you think, I'm not really sure if I believe in coincidences or not, but do you think it's coincidental that their family was originally cursed by this king? And then they come here and then all of a sudden they post up on cursed lands. I mean, that sounds like you're pretty much screwing yourself from the get-go, kicking the rocks, eh?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, again, curses are funny. You can be like, "Hey, I curse you," and then you're like, all right," and you live your whole life and you're fine. then again, there could be a paranormal twist to this. I talked to a few people before we talked, and I'm like, kept looking into this. I'm like, this sounds like this is on a ley line. Well, I asked them, and I looked up at some maps, and for sure, and there's two little ones that cross through Connecticut, and probably, and yeah, yeah, they go through Dudleytown. So I don't know if this is coincidence. I don't know if it's paranormal, but with with ley lines, a lot of strange stuff happens. But again, I don't know if I believe in ley lines, but a lot of weird stuff happens around ley lines. So I don't know. It could be both. It could be the water they're drinking. It could be paranormal. It could be both. I don't know. Yeah, fascinating case here.
No, isn't that the truth? And did you ever have a chance to potentially ask Colleen about that? And yes, to the audience, you should recognize that name. She is part of our science team and pops on as much as she can. And she is the official environmentalist. Did you potentially get a chance to ask her about that? Because at some point, I should probably pick her mind to see what she thinks about that area, because she's always a wealth of knowledge too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I asked her. I don't think I got anything back from her, but yeah, my mind just keeps going back to there's something in the water because there's something in the water and there's something they're eating. There's some kind of environmental factor that these people are ingesting. Then after a while, I mean, read a couple of them. They lived about 100 years old, but right before they starting to pass, they're starting to say like there's things in the woods. I've seen things in the woods. So I don't know if they're
Going
going
senile or
off
what?
or
Yeah. No, that makes
yeah.
sense,
Well,
dude.
well, yeah. I mean, you live almost 100 years old. You're probably going to go senile. Now, if you're 50, 60 years old and you've lived there for 10 years and all of a sudden you're saying, I'm seeing things in the woods, I'm seeing things in the woods, and it's not just you, but you know, Bob and Billy and Mary and whoever, all your neighbors that are like, yeah, I'm seeing that too. That's an environmental factor. So I don't know.
Again, that makes a ton of sense. I mean, if someone is, ingesting something and you only have a small community, they're obviously all eating the same foods and using the same restroom areas and such. And I've touched on this so many times because I love this example. Okay. Look at when people are like, oh my goodness, so and so's daughter has to be a vampire. What do you mean? Why? Well, the whole village is sick now, and she just recently passed away and was super sick. Okay, so why do you think she's a vampire? What do you mean? Everyone's sick. Well, yeah, you guys use the bathroom in the water that you wash your clothing in and you cook your food in. Y'all sanitary aspects are horrible. You're eating questionable meats and things like that. Then you have vermin everywhere. Yeah, of course, you're wearing the same clothes every day. I could see how a bacteria and virus could spread or a sickness pretty quickly, but you're damn right, it's got to be the vampire, right? So what do? They go up and dig up the corpse, and of course, yes, it's bloated. There's fresh body fluids and blood coming out of her mouth because that's what corpses do. See, I told you she's feeding on everybody. We gotta shove a brick into her face, dislocate her jaw, and impale her now. Okay, yes, see? Oh crap, everyone's still sick. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, there's logical sides of that. I mean, 25 people isn't really necessarily a large community. And I mean, we don't need to be geniuses to understand sicknesses. I mean, anyone that has children, I have a bunch of nieces. Man, they're like little germ hogs, dude. When they go to like preschool and stuff, man, you're like, oh, great, thanks. Got me sick to my belly now because of you. So, more or less, those things just pass along, man. I mean, it's no different than when animals are all stuck together, one chicken gets sick. Well, what? Of course, the rest of them are going to get sick, correct?
Yeah, schools are petri dishes, and not the good kind. I mean, being a custodian for Jesus, almost 11 years, yeah, eventually you're gonna get sick. And preschools, just elementary schools, junior highs, high schools, even colleges. Oh, if you don't get sick like 3 or 4 times during the year, you're lucky. Because just yeah, all right. Uh, I'm gonna be honest. A lot of people don't wash their hands. So
And then you're touching door handles and all that. So that's just what I'm saying. When was this occurring? Like what, the 1800s, give or take, or maybe like what, early 1900s? I'm not exactly sure on the time frames, but I do know sanitation aspects were definitely something that was not taken into consideration. And if you and I were sitting there right now, I don't deal in hundreds and I don't deal in guarantees, but I'm pretty 98% sure we would have seen some people sitting there dealing with raw meat and not washing their hands and then going to touch their little ones or taking a, number two or something and not washing their hands or just dipping it in, oh, I'm gonna wash my hands now here where we're cleaning off this fish. So yeah, dude, I mean, at the end of the day, dude, like a lot of people aren't considered the most sanitary. And yeah, bacteria and things are something your body needs to be able to deal with and fight off. But I'm just trying to say that infections and things spread. And in the past, man, people, I mean, people are still pretty lost this day and age, but in the past, you had some really lost people. So it really does make a lot of sense, like you were saying. 25 people in this village, probably some sort of contamination aspect going on already, poor hygiene, poor food choices. Yeah, it seems pretty obvious that whatever happened is
yeah,
going to run rampant.
tainted water, perhaps. I mean, geez, I couldn't. If somebody Thanos snapped me back into the 1800s, I'd probably scream just just to see how they live, especially hygiene wise. I would cry. See, for real.
That's what I'm
They're just like,
saying.
oh, here, yeah, on this barrel, and then sell it to you.
Yes. I mean, look over in India, correct me if I'm wrong, but like I believe it's the Ganges River, which is one of their holy rivers, okay? Well, they put deceased corpses in there. They go in there and bathe. It's one of the most polluted rivers in the world. They put feces in there and stuff. What the heck, dude?
Yeah, no, no thanks. I mean, I got a river next to me, and I wouldn't. When I played it when I was younger, I mean, oh yeah, you go down to the river and you play with it, and you got the tingles, and you didn't know what the tingles were. And then you showered off, and the tingles went away. Come to find out, yeah, there's a bunch of pollutants in that river. That's why you got the tingles.
Yes, exactly, man. So I just encourage people always, do look at things like that, okay? I mean, I do believe that something is occurring out there, okay? I know people are missing. I know people are disappearing in national forests, around cave systems. We have strange footprints. You have reports from the Dogman and the Cynocephali all the way back to 290 BC. I do believe there is something occurring here, but I also do believe there are a ton of people that just jump the snap here and automatically always assume something has to be paranormal before dealing with the things that should be dealt with first, okay? Meaning, all right, I'm sitting here editing in the middle of the night. All of a sudden, while I live in a forested area, boom, on the top of my roof. Oh no, it's the Jersey Devil. No, man, it's just a branch or an acorn, dude. Like, you see what I'm saying? So people just always want to jump to the what's the word I'm looking for? The extreme ends of things, okay? And we always want to not necessarily take things at face value or too much at face value, okay? And people just get upset when, there are questions asked and such, but without questions, there are no answers, okay? And questions are good. I mean, there's obviously bad ways to ask questions, but if people are afraid of questions, they're not helping out anyone and they're also most likely hiding something. Okay. So to be able to sit down and filter through things like we just did, okay, you have all these reports, paranormal. We do know that no matter what, though, especially in the past, paranormal was something that everyone always immediately went to when they didn't understand something. But you have an area that is on, kind of shady land in general, okay, that has been cursed. But we're going to push that all aside here. We're just going to talk about the logic that, yeah, sanitary aspects, only 25 people, and most likely some sort of pollutants or contaminations or bacterias or germs in their food sources, their clothing, also in the water and things they're drinking. And even as much as this, people don't realize Lyme disease, okay? Yeah, it's exploded ever since, we'll get into that another point in time, but it's always been part of like ticks and things, okay? So people still could have been living in areas like that, still getting sick from insects as well, man, and such, which Lyme disease not being treated has all kinds of crazy side effects, hallucinations, joint pain, all kinds of stuff, man. So,
Yeah, I didn't think about the tech aspect. That's a good one. I Yeah, I don't know much about Connecticut. All I know is that they they couldn't grow crops, so the best source was water. And I got to thinking, well, they had an iron. They found an iron deposit, so they started doing iron mining.
boom, right
And
there, bro. Yep.
I
They most likely
don't
got it into their
know if
water, dude. You're not supposed to be drinking
yeah
metal, man. Yeah.
yeah I don't know if that leached in the water or that's already there because
Of course it did, man. Name one place that mines near clean water where the water doesn't get ruined.
hmm, yeah. See, I didn't think about that. I was thinking more like arsenic or something like that, just little doses here and there.
Even something like that,
Because
though, man. I mean, when you're dealing with metal, though, dude, like metal, yeah, I mean, it can have all kinds of stuff like that. You're not supposed to consume metal. I mean, look at mercury. Correct me if I'm wrong. Mercury is metal and it stays inside of things, okay? There's fish that you will catch that will still be living their life that have too much mercury in them. That's why you're not supposed to consistently consume like tuna and stuff, you know?
yeah, you're not supposed to consistently eat seafood. That's yeah, they called it Mad Hatter's disease
Hmm.
way back when,
So
and
same
that was
thing right
from
there.
people. Yeah, that was from people working with mercury in their bare hands to make their fancy fur hats back then.
Hmm. So that's again like something else like that, like you just stated, they could have been using, things that I guess would have been considered the norm back then, maybe to tan pelts and things, and they could have been poisoning themselves. I mean, I made this reference the other night, like with Alexander Crowley, okay? So was he a genius? Was he insane? We know he's a frigged up person, but well, there's a lot to solidify both sides, man, that he was either or genius or insanity. Well, the prescription that his doctor gave him for a skin disease is now considered a devastating narcotic that puts people on the streets and ruins lives, yet they were giving it to him as a prescription. So that can't be overlooked. Whether he meant to be a drug addict or not, he was a drug addict using a highly illegal substance at the point in time that was considered legal. So, was this man really talking to and summoning occult things, or was he hallucinating and just out of his damn mind?
Yeah, yeah. If people would look back on drugs that were prescribed in the 17, 18, even the 1900s, it would blow your mind.
Hmm.
It's ugh,
But remember, Kelly, we're the bad guy for bringing up stuff like that because we don't automatically assume that Alexander Crowley was summoning things, and we don't just dive right into the fact that he knew everything about the occult. Hey, man, you're right. Sure. I'm sure this messed up dude did know a lot about that. That's all he spent his time with. But the guy's got a lot of problems. He was basically, as a child, showing signs of things that could have potentially been linked to in the future being a serial unaliver. He was a messed up person, dude. Okay. And not only that, he was a drug addict, dude. Okay. So people just need to understand that. I mean, just think of a drug addict in 2024. They're going to tell you whatever you need to hear to get a fix, or they're going to make up things. And it's a proven fact, man. When you're a habitual liar, dude, you convince yourself of things that occur that might never have occurred. It's like when you are a hoaxer and you tell the same story over and over again, you convince yourself that it's real. Okay. So, again, was this man talking and summoning the things? I don't know. You and I weren't sitting there. No one else was able to verify that. This is what he says. But everything I just told you, I can verify, from the drug use to the drug prescriptions to the insanity aspect. So for some reason, though, people just like to overlook that, dude.
Yeah, well, he got really famous really fast, and then the legend started, but nobody dug into his past.
That's all I'm saying,
Just
man.
like yeah, yeah.
It's important to be able
It
to
goes with
filter through that.
it goes with a lot of famous people, and they're like, oh, he's famous. He did this and that. Okay, why? Why is he so famous?
hmm I mean, before we tie this up, dude, like Einstein, for example, that guy had a ton of great theories, but again, people don't realize, man, he was borderline crazy too. Insanity genius, man. A lot of his stuff was wrong, and a lot of people thought he was off his damn rocker too, man. So,
Yeah, yeah. Just just be careful of who your heroes are, because if you look, try to dig into your heroes, you might be severely disappointed of who they actually are.
yep, I love how you said that, bro. Final note, man. Used to be a huge Jeff Hardy guy growing up, dude. Thought the dude was awesome. And then all of a sudden, like you said, I looked into one of my idols, found out he was a huge drug addict, man. Never showing up for his matches, getting into cars, driving intoxicated with like five OUIs. You're like, yo, dude, you're just an absolute piece of junk, man. And I used to like love you as a child, dude. So yeah, no, it's unfortunate, man.
Yeah, never. What what was the saying? Never meet your heroes.
No, it's so true, man. It's very true. That's why I always try to, like my little brother. Well, I have two little brothers, but like one of them told me, just always make sure you do your research on people before you envy them. And also, like even wearing a jersey, man. Like, so for example, like Jeremy Swayman, my favorite athlete, huge Bruins guy. But if he was a horrible person, man, and I knew about any horrible things he did, I wouldn't walk around with his name on the back of my back on a jersey. You know what I mean? Like I do that because A, he's my favorite player, but I really like what he stands for just as a person in general, even outside of hockey. So yeah, it is really important, like you said, to make sure you do know who you're putting your stamp of approval on before you're like, yeah, he or she is so dope. And then you're like, oh crap, no, they're not dope.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's yeah. It's nothing like look looking up looking up at a mountain and see your favorite hero there and find out.
Yeah, you just realize you're the
Yeah,
biggest like turd of
yeah,
all time. But well,
yeah. They did a bunch of nasty shit to get to the top.
yes, exactly, man. But well, thanks again for popping in tonight, man, to hang out with us, dude. I always do enjoy sitting down and chatting with you, man, because you always come in with some good information. You do a ton of your own research and you have a good mind frame. So it's definitely imperative to have you part of the Midnight Society, part of my team, and also great to call you a friend, man. So I appreciate it, dude.
Yeah, no problem. I love hanging out with you.
If you did make it this far tonight, you truly are a legend, and I adore every single one of you. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Feed the algorithm. And remember, there are things that go bump in the night.